Welcome to episode number 1 of the TMAC Impact Show. This podcast is something that I've been planning on doing for the last 3 to 4 months and figuring out exactly what my approach is going to be, the type of people that I'm going to want to interview, and how to get all of the equipment. And for the most part, as I get going, doing everything pretty much on my own. So it's been a little bit of a journey getting to this point. It will be an interview podcast, but for this first episode, it's going to be a bit shorter and a monologue where I share a little bit about myself as well as what kind of my vision is for this podcast and how we're going to accomplish that with the mission. So speaking of mission, my personal mission statement in life is to encourage and inspire others to grow towards the potential that God put within them. For me, I am a Christian, I am a husband, I'm a real estate agent and investor, and I was a professional snowmobiler for about 4 years, living and riding and guiding every day down in West Yellowstone. Instead of going to the college route, that's what I did. It was so worth it with all of the experiences I got to have, the people that I got to meet, and everything that came along with it. I wanted to figure out a way I can just do more content. I love and enjoy talking with people. I enjoy listening. Well, it's something that I'm also trying to grow in, which is going to be an awesome part of running a podcast. My wife is going to appreciate it so much. Fast forward a year from now, after I get better at interviewing and being a good listener. So this podcast is going to play in helping me do my personal mission. A couple things that I believe is in society that negativity gets the spotlight of attention. I also believe that what we focus on expands. So if you think about it, if you crank on the news and you turn on Fox or CNN or whatever news source, when's the last time that you saw something positive? So if what we focus on expands and all the world with the news and social media is trying to show us clickbait, worse things are coming to fruition, bad things are happening, how do you think your life is going to be? Probably not the best if that's what you're expanding on. I believe that there is so many awesome people out there in the world, in our community here in Bozeman and throughout the state of Montana, that are doing amazing things. And they don't necessarily have the platform to share it. With that being said, I believe that people are encouraged and inspired to action and growth by the story of other people. So I'm going to share 2 individuals who have inspired me to make this podcast. One of their names is Pete Vargas. Pete Vargas is an entrepreneur, and back in 2003, he was a youth pastor at a small town in Texas. On his first night as a youth pastor, he had 3 kids show up to the youth group. And one thing that he did was he would invite guest speakers to come in and speak to the kids about different values that he would want to instill in these young kids, whether it would be something within the Bible or something within fitness or something within finances or serving other people, whatever it might be, he would bring in and have these speakers. And one of the speakers that he had after doing this for a while was the father of the first girl who was shot and killed in Columbine. And Pete didn't have a very good relationship with his dad. If I'm saying this correctly, he actually was raised or grew up a lot with his grandparents. And he did a conference type thing, and a handful of people twisted his dad's arm to go and listen. And the gentleman who spoke was the father of the first girl who was shot and killed at Columbine. And he shared 2 principles. One of these principles was that there's a lot of people in our lives that we love and care about. So what we should do is make sure that they know that and express that, because we don't know when our last day could be. And speaking of that, we should also reconcile our relationships with those people, because there's people out there who we cherish and mean a lot to us that our relationship might not be the best with. And so he encouraged that. Everybody at this conference was in tears, and Pete's dad wrote a letter that was multiple pages and told Pete that he loved him for the first time in 10 years. After that, Pete was like, whoa, this guy has an awesome message and he has to get it out there. And he approached him and was like, man, why are you not sharing this with more people? And the guy was like, well, I don't necessarily know how or have the platform. And Pete was like, well, I'm going to take care of that. Long story short, now Pete works with people like Ed Milet, Grant Cardone, Tim Tebow, and all sorts of things through being a connector of people and utilizing the stories of others to get out there and share what message it is that they have. And so backing up a little bit, within that, what I looked at is, okay, there's people that Pete knows that don't have a platform to share something that could be life-changing or encouraging or inspiring to someone else. And I've been affirmed that I have the gift of gab by a few people, and I want to look at how can I serve other people, and thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give other people a platform by utilizing a podcast. And so that's kind of what got me moving forward. And then within the social media realm, there's a gentleman, his name is Charlie Rocket. Charlie Rocket grew up in Atlanta and was kind of in the rap scene. He has worked with rappers, and I might get a little bit of this wrong, but I know he's worked with rappers like 2 Chainz, Machine Gun Kelly, and there's a few others, but anyways, all these big rappers. And he became, in the Atlanta rap scene, he became a music mogul by managing these rappers. And he had all kinds of success and became a millionaire from it, which good on him. He put on a lot of work and saw success. But what he realized was a couple things. One, he let his health go way south. He was extremely overweight and had a brain tumor. And he also realized that he wasn't fulfilled. He was a millionaire, but like, for what good? It didn't really matter. Long story short, he had a dream when he was, I believe, 8 years old of becoming a professional athlete. And so Charlie retired from the music industry and decided to become a professional Nike athlete. And through some relationships and connections, he ended up doing that. He lost a ton of weight. He no longer has the brain tumor, I believe, and has been using his platform to help other people accomplish their dreams. And he does that and builds a platform utilizing social media. We've all seen those videos of people who will post on social media of, let's say, helping a homeless person. And yes, it's great they help that individual, but we all can see behind the veil of the heart of that person is, look at me and look how amazing I am because I helped this person. It's not done in humility at all. With Charlie, that is far from the case. He has helped sick kids, kind of like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, go on amazing trips. He helped a little girl raise over $300,000 and start a baking business. He has paid off a teacher who was going through cancer. He paid off her mortgage. A girl who was going to college but didn't have the ability to get there, got her a brand new car, and has done all sorts of different things and given away tons and tons of money. And he does make that into short form content in order to get his message out. And it's mainly to encourage and inspire other people to get on board with his vision and go help other people and help other people's dreams come true. When I watch a lot of those videos, I honestly get tears in my eyes. And I took that and I was like, wow, okay. Pete Vargas is helping give people a platform. Charlie Rocket is using short form content to uplift others and help other people. And I took that and I was like, okay, well, if my personal mission is to encourage and inspire others to grow towards the potential that God put within them, I think I've got something here. And so I decided to start this podcast, and I came up with the name of it called the T-Mac Impact Show. At first, it was going to be called the Montana Impact Show, but I also didn't want to limit the potential growth that it could have. So if I'm interviewing, people here in Bozeman, and God willing, the podcast took off, and there's an individual in Texas that wanted to be able to come onto the podcast or wherever it might be, but it's called the Montana Impact Show. Like, why do they really care if they don't have any ties or anything going on in Montana? And so I thought, okay, I will name it myself. I wrestled with that for a little bit because I don't want people thinking that, this is all about me, because it's not. The way that I actually define personal brand, which is what this is kind of encompassing, is exploiting your uniqueness in the service of others. And so if I'm running the TMAC Impact Show, I believe that there are managers of grocery stores. There's people who own barber shops. There's people who run a successful restaurant. There's philanthropists, all kinds of these amazing people who are doing awesome things within my community of Bozeman, within Montana, the United States, and the world. And a lot of those people, either one, don't have the means, or two, they don't have the platform to get their story out there and share what it is that they're doing, who it is that they're helping, and the two most important things, why they're doing what they're doing, and how other people can get involved with what they're doing and how you can maybe help out with that. Those are kind of the gaps that this show is going to be filling, is giving people a platform, sharing why they do what they do and how other people can get connected with them and go help their cause or business or community, whatever it is that might be. And in that, all of it is going to be extremely positive information and positive messages. I don't like the news. It's all because it's always so negative. So my hope and prayer is that this podcast can be something that people listen to at the gym, on their way to work, on the airplane, wherever it might be, or watching it on YouTube, and be encouraged and inspired to grow towards the potential that God has put within them. And so the TMAC Impact Show, believe it or not, I came up with an acronym for the word impact. And I'll share the acronym, and then I'm going to go through and define each of the words. So impact stands for innovative, mindset, of course, being growth. P is for philanthropic. A is for action taker. C is for community oriented. And T is for teamwork. So now that you know what impact stands for, I'm going to go through and I'm going to define each of those words, kind of how I see them and why I selected those words to be a part of the acronym. So innovative. I define innovative as someone who thinks creatively and forward to come up with new and original ideas, whether it's somebody who's coming up with a new product or a service or a fun hobby, whatever it is. There's so many innovative people who are creating new and original ideas that nobody else has ever thought of before, or maybe even improving upon an idea or concept that has already been there. The way I'll define mindset and being a growth mindset is someone who commits to self-mastery, is inspired by the success of others, and gives their best in every situation. We all have so much potential, and I believe that we can live a life by default and whatever happens, happens, or we can live a life by design where we no longer play the victim and we decide to take responsibility for the things that are happening around us and going out and creating whatever it is that you want to create. And so if you're committed to self-mastery, you're probably going to be disciplined. You're going to want not to have others fail, but you're going to want to collaborate with them to see how you can all succeed together. And you're always giving your best. We all know that there's people out there who won't work hard and they just do just enough to get by and then wonder why the world is against them. Well, in reality, it's no, you're not giving your best. And so you're probably not going to receive very much in exchange for that. The way I will define philanthropic is someone who generously seeks to promote the welfare of others through finances and service while expecting nothing in return. The second part there of while expecting nothing in return is the part that I want to emphasize. The way that I will differentiate serving and volunteering is if there's a volunteer effort, you go there and they say, hey, show up on Saturday from noon to 5. We're going to volunteer here, get the free t-shirt and the dinner or the voucher for whatever it is. And that's great. Needs are being met. On the other hand, service is generously donating or generously serving and filling a need, expecting literally nothing in return. Not that when you're serving others that you wouldn't ever get something in return. I believe that the more you give, the more you can get, but you genuinely do it without hoping for the spotlight, or getting anything in return. So philanthropic, that's how I define that. Action taker. I define action taker as someone who doesn't get caught in analysis paralysis and looks for opportunities to fail forward towards their goals and dreams. I can think back on a couple different times in my life where I was working through something or I wanted to start something new, and I read all day about it, and then I'm going to talk with people about it, all those things, only to realize that I never got going. If you live life like that, you're probably not going to get very much because you're waiting for the perfect time. I know so many people who are waiting for the perfect time to get into the real estate market, the perfect time to get married, the perfect time to have kids, the perfect time to start a new business, whatever it might be. And the reality is there is no perfect time. You just have to get going, and you are going to learn through your failure and through the successes that you have along the way. And so action taker is somebody who gets up and they get it done no matter what. Community oriented. I define community oriented as someone who increases the welfare and creates fellowship for others in a similar geographical area or with a group with who they have similar interests. So if you think about it, there's people who are very community oriented within, let's say, a nonprofit in their local community, and here's a need that they're looking to fill. Or something that comes to mind is like CrossFit. I don't do CrossFit, but like that community is tight. Or people who are into hiking, or I'm into snowmobiling, and there's a community of snowmobilers. There's so many different communities, and that can be in your geographical area or doing it online. When I wanted to learn how to get into real estate investing, I didn't know all of the people in my community who were doing that. So what I did is I went online, and I was able to build a sense of community with like-minded individuals through social media, whether that was Facebook and mentorships there, or people I'd message back and forth with on Instagram or forums, things like that, to be able to learn. So people who are community oriented are looking to increase the welfare and fellowship for all kinds of people in whatever niche that might be. Finally, the last word is teamwork. And I will define teamwork as someone who empowers and works with others to accomplish something. And a quote that I love with teamwork is, if you want to go far, go together. An easy thing that comes to mind is multifamily real estate. I know people who are investing into that. And when you have a big deal, you can't have one individual, or it's actually much harder to have one person doing everything. So you assemble a team, and now you're able to provide this housing for people, or even nonprofits. There's a local nonprofit here, and I'll likely have one or two people who do it, and it's called Greater Impact. There's so many people involved with Greater Impact. They're helping people with recovery from all kinds of addictions. They're helping people with housing. They help people with auto needs and so many other things. And it takes an army, and they are doing so many wonderful things here in the community of Bozeman alongside each other because they're working together with teamwork. That is how I define every word in my acronym for impact. Again, impact stands for innovative, mindset being growth, P for philanthropic, A is action taker, C community oriented, and T is teamwork. One thing that I've found is normally if you embody one of those traits, you usually embody many of them. And I believe that through embodying one or many of those traits, we can all have an impact on other people. So if there is an individual who embodies one or many of those traits, that's somebody who I want to have on the podcast. They don't have to have, 1 million followers on social media or $1 million in the bank or whatever it is. If you are having an impact on others, and you think your story and I think your story could help encourage and inspire other people to growth, I want to have you on the show. The mission statement for the podcast is sharing impactful stories to inspire growth. I am very excited to start giving people a platform and sharing awesome things that people are doing throughout Bozeman, Montana, the United States, and hopefully eventually the world. I have no clue where this is going to go. It's going to be very much a grassroots movement. I wanted to make this first episode just to define the word impact and give a little of behind the scenes insight on why I decided to start this podcast. I was inspired by Pete Vargas to give other people a platform and Charlie Rocket to humbly help other people and also exploit my uniqueness in the service of others. And I want to use that to help others get their stories out there and also grow as a listener, because I know that that is going to do so many things for me um, throughout my life. And that you can call that selfish if you want. What I do know is my wife, Kendra, is going to love when I become a better listener. So that's all I've got for this first episode. Is I just wanted to share kind of how I've gotten to this point and what I see for going ahead, and how I define the word impact. I'm not going to define this every single time, but if you're on episode 10 and you're like, what does impact mean? I'll reference, come back to episode 1, listen to that. You will know what I mean by impact, because it's used across so many different areas of life. And this is specifically how I have defined it. So again, thank you so much for listening. I am so excited and grateful to even have this opportunity and can't wait to see where it grows.